Okay, so hello for those na nandito. And I'll just remind na na-send ko na or send ko na sa essay nyo yung performance task and written work nyo. So isang activity lang yung isa-send ko every quarter. So I think you'll be expecting 2 activities for this semester for a business ethics. So kumpletuhin nyo lang siya. Pag sinagutan niyo, make sure na complete, walang nai-skip na mga questions. So, automatic naman na 100 yun if na-complete. And if not, yun, baka 75 pag may nakalimutang samputang isang part. Okay, so I'll be sharing my screen and let me know kung naririnig ha.
Yan, though merong mga consequences, meron ding mga liabilities if in discuss Chapter 3, Social Responsibility of Entrepreneurs, of Business Ethics and Social Responsibility. So at the end of this lesson, at the end of this chapter, so here are objectives. So we should be able to explain or identify the responsibilities and accountabilities of entrepreneurs and accountabilities of entrepreneurs toward the employees, government, creditors, suppliers, consumers, and general public and other stakeholders. And we should be able to identify the major ethical issues in entrepreneurship, such as the basic fairness, personnel and customer relations, distribution dilemmas, fraud, unfair competition, unfair communication, non-respect of agreements, environmental degradation, and etc. And we should be able to identify and explain models and frameworks of social responsibility in the practice of sound business. So before we proceed to our lesson 9, so let us discuss the social responsibilities, or what is social responsibilities. So it is an ethical theory in which individuals are accountable for fulfilling their civic duty, and the actions of an individual must benefit the whole society. In this way, there must be a balance between economic growth and the welfare of the society and the government. Okay, so we have here the example or the categories of social or corporate social responsibility: environmental, human rights, philanthropic, and economic responsibility. And then here are the samples or examples of CSR. So we have the reducing carbon footprints, improving labor policies, participating in fair trade, charitable giving, volunteering in the community, corporate policies, and corporate policies that benefit the environment, socially and environmentally conscious investments. Okay, so yun, kung meron kayong mga kilalang companies, yan, for example, mga Jollibee, Coca-Cola, SM department or mga SM store, meron silang CSR na tinatawag or corporate social responsibility. So isa sa mga CSR ng mga, for example, CSR ng mga companies, nagtatanim sila ng mga puno, meron silang mga scholar, ayan, meron silang parang nag-sponsor sila ng mga students. Ayan, and also minsan may mga products na pinopromote or may mga companies na pinopromote nila na maging economic lover yung mga products nila. So for example, si Starbucks, dati plastic yung cup nila. Ngayon, pinopromote na parang halos lahat din ng mga fast food or mga restaurant, pinopromote na nila yung paggamit ng paper cup. Yan, and then paper straw or nagiging strawless na sila. So isa yun sa mga CSR ng mga companies. Ayun, so pwede kayo mag-search ng mga other social responsibility ng ng isang company. Ayun, so dapat as a company or as an employer, hindi lang nila ini-aim na na ma-maximize nila yung profit nila. Ayan, maka-engganyo sila ng mga customer para bumili sa kanila. Ini-aim din nila na magkaroon sila ng corporate social responsibility. Kumbaga, meron silang mabuting meron silang advantage or benefit or mabuting tawag dito good benefit yon sa ibang tao, hindi lang sa customer nila. Ayun, and then sa society, sa environment. Ayun. So chapter 3, social responsibility of entrepreneurs, lesson 9. So we're going to discuss the responsibilities and accountability of entrepreneurs. Ayan. So we have here the definition of the responsibility, accountability, and ownership, and then we have to compare these three. And so when we say ownership and accountability, it means individual and teams taking accountability for the quality and success of both the output and outcomes of their work. So both of these are important, as ownership doesn't mean perfection. It means knowing why you are doing the work and making sure that you produce as it fits the purpose. So ownership is a state of mind where you feel fully in charge and do not give any excuses for what needs to be done. It also means understanding, learning, and challenging rather than mindlessly following the instructions. So yon, pag nag-work tayo, ayan, isa kang crew, ayan, so meron kang ownership doon sa ginagawa mo. Kumbaga, ginagawa mo yung best mo para yung output ng service mo or output ng work mo nakadepende doon sa standard ng dapat na output ng service mo na binigay ng isang company. Ayun yung tinatawag na ownership. Kumbaga, ino-own mo yung work mo, kaya gagawin mo yung best mo. Ayan. So, yeah, making sure that you produce is fit for the purpose. Ayan. So, the outcome and the output. While the accountability is to be held to account for the fulfillment of your duties and responsibilities. Yan, accountability requires answers and entails consequences. So accountability is not feeling ownership or responsibility. Rather than accountability is a process that is usually external. Someone holds accountable, although a sense of ownership means that you will also hold yourself accountable as well. So yun, parang ang ownership kasi parang voluntary or parang vino-volunteer mo yung sarili mo na gawin mo yung best mo para doon sa service mo or doon sa product na ginagawa mo. While yung accountability naman, parang ito yung dapat mong gawin, and then kumbaga parang dito, parang ikaw ba yung inaasahan, ikaw yung inaasahan ng company na gagawa ng bagay na to. Ayan, and also yung mga liabilities or if in case na merong mga pagkakamali or meron kang pagkukulang, ikaw yung lalapitan nila, ikaw yung liable doon, ikaw yung accountable doon. Ayun. So, meaning pag ikaw naging accountable sa isang bagay, better siya kasi ikaw yung inaasahan ng company na gagawa nun. Ayun, accountable ka sa bagay na to. Yan. Though merong mga consequences, meron ding mga liabilities if in case na magkamali ka. Ayun, at least meron parang privilege pa rin siya kasi ikaw yung inasahan ng employer mo na gumawa ng bagay na yun. So merong mga, yun nga, may mga liabilities na ikaw din yung sasalo. Yan. So in between ownership and accountability is responsibility. The strong internal feeling driving your willingness to perform your duties with total ownership. So responsibility is unidirectional, though. Give individuals and teams the authority, autonomy, and accountability for an outcome. Organizations and leaders must be transparent about the strategic decisions that are being made. For an individual to be held accountable for their decisions, they must have appropriate information so as to not make predictably incorrect decision. This has implications in publicly traded organizations relating to insider trading regulations, yan, no knowledge of share price traders, yan, for example. But many organizations have solved the conundrum. So yun, di ba sa job description natin, meron tayong nakalagay na mga responsibilities doon. So kung hindi tayo binigyan ng accountability doon sa responsibility na yun, maaring hindi natin siya gawin, no? Maaring bigyan lang tayo ng responsibility, pero hindi naman tayo accountable. So hindi natin gagawin yung best na atin. So yun, pag binigyan ka ng responsibility, madalas ikaw na rin yung binibigyan ng accountability doon sa responsibility na doon. So dapat dahil accountable ka doon sa responsibility na yun, ino-own mo na siya, so gagawin mo yung best mo para hindi ka magkamali or hindi mo saluhin yung mga liabilities na if in case magkamali ka, kasi gagawin mo na yung best mo. Yun. So pag meron kang responsibility, ayun, mas better na dapat bigyan ka rin ng accountability if in case na magkamali ka. So para gagawin mo yung best mo. Ayun, so for further explanation, Yan, responsibility versus the accountability. And the main difference between responsibility and accountability is that responsibility can be shared while accountability cannot. Ayun. So, ayun, minsan kunyari para-paras kayo ng work, para-paras kayo ng accountant, para-paras din naman kayo ng responsibility. Pero minsan merong mga accountable sa specific na process. Yan, especially kunyari pag mga for promotion na kayo, for senior or for supervisor na kayo, minsan binibigyan na kayo ng accountability doon sa process. So being accountable not only means being responsible for something, but also ultimately being answerable for your decisions and actions. Also, accountability is something you hold a person only after a task is done or not done. So responsibility can be before or after a task. Ayan. So pag may responsibility tayo tapos hindi naman tayo accountable, more likely hindi naman natin siya gagawin ng ganun ka tama or hindi natin yung binibigay yung best natin. Yan. So about every business preaches the benefits of building a culture of accountability. So leaders need to be accountable. Normally yun nga, pag mga supervisor, manager, more likely marami silang accountability. Yan, lagi silang accountable. Kung nga rin nagkamali yung subordinate nila, madalas sila yung tatanungin, questionin ng mga top management, yung mga supervisor and manager natin. Sila yung lalapitan ng mga clients, sila yung lalapitan ng customer pag may mga nagawa tayong mali, yung mga subordinate. Yan. So, employees need to be accountable. Yan. Actually, accountable din naman ng mga employees. Kunyari, nagkamali ka. So, yun, magiging accountable ka dun sa liabilities. Yun. Actually, accountable din naman pero hindi ganun kasing laki ng accountability ng mga managers and supervisors. Kasi yung pagkakamali mo, accountability din naman ng employees. And at the same time, accountability din siya ng mga supervisor and managers. Yan. And we must do everything possible to ensure accountability at all levels of the organization. So yun, minsan depende rin sa pagkakamali, kaya minsan umaabot hanggang top management yung liability or yung accountability ng pagkakamali mo. Yan. So, accountability naman versus ownership. Yan. So, accountability is something assigned or given. Yan. I can assign accountability. I can instruct an employee to perform a task or even accomplish a goal. Yan. But in effect, I still own the task or goal. I tell the employee what I want, I define success, and I create metrics to measure that success. That is accountability. The employee takes responsibility for getting done what I want. While ownership naman is not assigned or given. Ownership is taken. Yan, voluntary or nagvo-volunteer ka na gawin yung isang task ng with your best, ayan, with all the knowledge and experience ina-apply mo doon. I cannot appoint ownership. It happens when an employee comes forward and says, I'm going to make this happen. Here's what will I do. Here's what will I accomplish. And here's how I will measure progress. So ownership means saying you will is unnecessary because employee has already said, I will. Yeah. People who take ownership naturally have the habit of exposing problems because those issues get in the way of their success. They want to overcome problems, so they will raise issues, admit short-term failures, and ask for help, all because they want to succeed. People given accountability, on the other hand, tend to hide problems. They tend not to raise issues. They tend not to ask for help. So yung accountability, ina-assign manager, while yung ownership naman, volunteer siya or ino-own or tinitake na ng mga employees. Yan. So, accountability involuntary, while yung ownership naman voluntary. Okay, so for our activity, ito naman, ilalagay ko naman siya sa clipper. Ayan, sa essay na naman siya ulit. So lahat naman ng activity natin sa business ethics and social responsibility ay nasa clipper. Ayan, so for activity number 1, so number 1, what is the difference between responsibility and accountability? What is the difference between accountability and ownership? And is responsibility important for the business owners, and why? Okay, so for Chapter 3, Social Responsibility of Entrepreneurs, Lesson 10, Accountabilities of Entrepreneurs Towards the Employees. And so I'll be giving examples of responsibility of entrepreneurs toward their employees. Pero sa ibang company naman, sila naman mismo nagke-create ng sarili nilang responsibility. Depende yan sa need or pangangailangan ng isang company or isang organization. Yun. So, responsibility of entrepreneurs toward their employees. What is an organization without its employees? So nothing. Hindi naman mag-ooperate ang isang company nang wala ang employees. So parang ano yan, win-win situation. So kailangan ni companies employees para sa service or para dun sa knowledge na meron si employee, and si employees kailangan din nila si company para sa growth, para sa sweldo, ayan, para sa mga benefits. Ayan, so win-win situation. Give and take lang sila. So employees are said to be true assets of an organization. Even the best of technology or best infrastructure would not be much use if employees do not perform up to the mark and are not satisfied with their current profiles. So as they say, charity will always begins at home. So the first and the foremost responsibility of an organization towards its employees is to ensure that they are happy and satisfied with their jobs. It is unethical to treat employees as mere machines and expect them to work continuously for 8 to 9 hours at a stretch just because they are being paid. So hindi porke binabayaran ng isang company yung mga employees nila, they have the right to treat them like a machine or robots or parang hindi human. Ayan, so dapat sa company, dahil nga win-win situation kayo, dahil hindi naman mabubuhay ang isang company, hindi mag-ooperate ang isang company na wala ang employees. So dapat itrato nila ng maayos sa mga employees. Yan. So hindi porke binabayaran mo sila, itatrato mo na sila ng hindi maganda. At hindi rin porke kailangan ka ng employees, itatrato mo na sila ng hindi maganda. Kasi may kailangan ka din sa kanila. Kailangan mo yung knowledge nila, yung learnings nila, yung skills nila, yan, para mag-operate yung isang company. So do not treat your staff as laborers. Management needs to ensure that individuals associated with their organization are actually enjoying what they are doing and also growing with time. So as an employer or the company, isa rin sa dapat na binibigay mo sa mga employees mo ay yung growth. Yan, hindi lang pera, dapat yung growth. Growth na nagkakaroon sila ng self-development, yung skills and knowledge nila mas nawawiden, mas dumadami yung kaalaman nila. Ayan. And then, syempre, dapat napopromote din sila. Ganun. Syempre, pag napopromote, ibig sabihin, mas motivate din yung mga tao. And so job profiles ought to be delegated equally as per expertise, knowledge, and educational qualification of individuals so that no one is overburdened. And provide healthy working conditions to your employees. Assign proper workstation and cubicles for them to work comfortably and eventually deliver their level best. So everyone needs some amount of privacy and make sure your employees get the same. So else soon they would be frustrated with their job and look for better opportunities. So nowadays, lalo na sa mga millennials and then Generation Z, especially sa mga millennials, kasi normally naman millennials pa lang naman yung mga madalas na may work ngayon, mas aggressive na sila. So pag hindi binibigay ng isang company yung job ng or yung environment, working environment, yung treatment na gusto nila or kailangan nila, lumilipat sila ng ibang company. No, bakit sila magi-stay sa isang company na hindi sila tinatrato ng maayos kung kaya naman yun ibigay ng ibang company. So yon, unlike sa mga dating yung mga old generation, yan lang, mga boomer, and kaya nilang magstay kahit 20 years sa isang company. Yun, as long as na babayaran sila, ganun. So, pag ang mga millennial ngayon, siguro matagal na yung 4 years. Pag walang growth, tapos walang increase, walang hindi maganda yung treatment ng management, aalis yan. Siguro 2 years kaya nilang mag-TS, ganun. So, as an employer, yan, you should try to sit with your employees from time to time and try to find out whether they are happy with their job or not. And if at all they are facing any problems in the system, it is the responsibility of the management to look after the safety of its employees. Ensure your office building is resistant to fire and earthquake. You cannot play with the lives of so many individuals. Till the time an employee is an official duty, it becomes the responsibility of the organization to assist him or her in case of medical emergency or other serious concern. If one of your engineers get hurt at your site, it is your responsibility to immediately take him to the hospital and provide basic medical assistance. So, yun, pag mga earthquakes and may mga, kung sa sobrang pagod na himatay, accountable yung employers doon sa employees na napahamak. Especially pag nandun sila sa site or sa office during their office hour. Ayun, so accountable si employers sa mangyayari sa mga employees niya. Okay, so yun yung mga examples ng mga responsibilities. So ito naman, ito yung list ng parang common na responsibility din ng ng entrepreneurs or mga employers sa kanilang employees. So employee payments and taxes. So as a business owner and employer, it is your responsibility to pay your employees. You should ensure they receive at least the minimum wage per hour. For the state in your business operates, you should pay each employee the money you owe them for or working in a given minimum period. The payment should include overtime that employee has worked, any sick leave that they have taken, and any vacation wages that they are entitled to. So, saan ba natin ito nakikita? Madalas nakikita natin ito sa labor code. So, dapat as an employee, magbasa ka din ng labor code para malaman mo kung ano ba yung karapatan mo. So, magkano nga ba yung minimum wage per hour ngayon? Di ba? Parang nasa 500 plus. So, pag below pa rin doon yung nare-receive mo, dapat kausapin mo na yung employer mo na dapat nasa minimum wage per hour ka na. So the IRS and the government, the state government as well as the IRS have requirements when it comes to such things as federal and state taxes. So mga taxes naman to, Social Security and Medicare. You should make these payments out of wages paid to each employee who is employed at your business. So meron tayong mga PhilHealth, SSS, ayan, at mga pag-ibig pa nga actually. So yun, parang as an employee ko yung mag-aasikaso nun. So, yan, mandatory yun. So, binibigyan mo ng, parang magbabayad ka ng SSS, PhilHealth, ng pag-ibig ng employees mo. Employer reporting to employees. You shouldn't just pay your employees. You should also make sure you report to them about their earnings. This is one of the most important responsibilities of the management to its employees. Each paycheck should include a statement that shows their gross pay, the withholdings, the deductions that have been made, and their net pay for the pay period in a particular and the year to date in general. So dapat ayun, pag nagpapasado din tayo, dapat huwag nating kakalimutan yung payslip. Yan, dapat sa payslip doon nakalagay yung breakdown nung naging earnings nila. No, for example, kung may OT, kung may mga deductions such as yung mga SSS, PhilHealth, and pag-ibig natin, i-include natin doon yung tax na binayaran nila, ganun. And then, mga holiday na, paid holidays, so dapat included yung doon. So, maintaining safety standards, it is a requirement of the federal government that you maintain a work environment that is safe for your employees. The level of safety should be in accordance with the specific standards set by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration for the industry in which your small business operates. So, actually, parang monthly ata or quarterly or yun, chine-check yan ng mga auditors if nasa standard pa ba yung office nyo or yung work environment nyo. For example, kung meron bang fire exit, fire extinguisher, kung yung elevator nyo ba up to date yung up to date siya yung mga permits noon. Baka kasi sobrang tanda na ng elevator nyo, kailangan nang i-renovate kasi maaaring mapahamak yung mga employees. So dapat yung mga ganong requirements, i-check din siya ng mga entrepreneur kasi responsibility nila yon. Responsibility nilang mag-provide ng safe na environment or office sa mga employees nila. Kasi if not, if may mangyaring masama sa employees nila, magiging accountable sila doon. Maintaining proper equipment and tools, make sure that each of your employees uses the correct equipment and tools that are safe for their particular industry that your business operates in. That is another responsibility. And that is another responsibility that rests on you as the business owner. So yon, especially sa mga construction worker, dapat nagpo-provide tayo ng full set or ayan, yung kompletong equipment, dress code, ayan, na kailangan nilang gamitin para mag-work. Kasi if not, pag hindi natin na-provide yung mga equipments na kailangan nila, pag may nangyari sa kanila masama, magiging accountable na naman tayo. Obtaining and maintaining insurance, while above section was all about the measures you can take as a business owner to ensure that your workplace is as safe as it can possibly be, the fact is that you can never fully cover your bases. There will always be a risk that accidents will happen. So, syempre, meron tayong mga safety precautions, meron tayong mga sinusunod na standard para ma-assure natin na safe talaga yung workplace, pero hindi pa rin natin naman masusure na hindi talaga mag-o-occur yung mga accidents. So, meron tayong mga insurance din. Yan. So, swerte nyo kung yung employer nyo, kaya kayong bigyan ng sarili nyong insurance para ma-assure na if in case na may mangyari sa inyong masama, malalapitan nyo pa rin sila at meron kayong, at hindi mapapabayaan yung family nyo. Workers' compensation insurance. Workers' compensation insurance is a special kind of insurance that covers the medical care expenses of restoring the worker to health, as well as the payment of their wages during the period of they are recovering. This is known as wage replacement. So yon, isa sa mga dapat i-check niyo pag nag-a-apply kayo ng work, kung meron ba silang magandang medical benefit na tinatawag. Ayan. So meron silang mga partners na hospital. Ayun. So swerte kayo pag ang in-applyan niyo merong magandang medical benefits. And so maintaining safety standards, it is a requirement of the government that you maintain a work environment that is safe for your employees. Yan. So, syempre, hindi lang naman employers ang may responsibility. As well as the employees, meron din tayong responsibility sa mga employers natin. So, here are our responsibilities. Yan, following rules, your employees should obey the policies and rules of your organization as well as the instructions they need to perform the work they are supposed to perform. This is the essence of what it means to be an employee. So, actually, bago ka mag-start ng work, meron kayong mga training seminars, dinidiscuss doon yung mga policies ng company, and then hindi mo dapat pwedeng sabihin na hindi mo kasi nabasa o hindi mo alam pag nagkamali ka. Ayun. Pag nagkamali ka, magiging accountable ka doon sa magiging consequences ng pagkakamali mo. Honesty, your employees are expected to be honest in their dealings with and on behalf of your organization. They should not steal from you or lie to you about the business matters. They should also be honest in the way they represent themselves while applying for employment. Ayun, dapat bago ka palang habang nag-a-apply ka palang, naging honest ka na. Yung mga nakalagay sa resume mo, dapat totoo yun. Yung mga habang ini-interview ka, dapat naging honest ka sa mga skills and strengths mo, weaknesses mo, habang ini-interview ka. Kasi mag-suffer ka din pag hindi ka naging honest doon sa mga credentials mo. Ayun. Also, pag nag-work ka na, dapat honest ka pa din if in case na meron kang mga negotiation in behalf of your organization, yan, sa mga customers, dapat maging honest ka. Yan. Care and skill. Your employees should employ due care and skill in the job that they have been assigned to do. They should offer the full value of the time for or which you are paying them. So yun, dapat, syempre meron tayong mga responsibilities, dapat ginagawa natin yun with due care and the skill na meron tayo. Confidentiality, the employees is expected to keep secrets of the company and should not disclose confidential company information to an authorized person. So, ayun, pag may mga pag may mga transactions ng isang company, dapat natin siya dinidisclose in public. Yan. Actually, lahat ng nalalaman mo about the company, hindi mo talaga dapat yun dinidisclose sa public. Or else, pwede ka nilang kasuhan. Yan. Kasi isa rin sa mga pinipirmahan mo, yung confidentiality. Conflict of interest, the employee is expected to disclose any conflict of interest that may arise. This include a relationship that could compromise you as the business owners, including working for a competitor. So yun, pag nag-decide tayo as an employee, hindi na dapat inuuna natin yung kapakanan ng employer natin pag nagde-decide tayo. Especially during your office hour, tapos yung negotiation mo in behalf of your organization. Lagi nating inuuna yung kapakanan ng employer natin. Care of property, and the employee should exercise care for the facilities, equipment, and overall property of the employer. Since yun nga, pangalawang bahay natin yung office natin, dapat inaalagaan natin yung mga equipments, ayan. And hindi naman porke employer yung nagbayad niyan, hindi na natin siya aayusin, hindi na natin siya gagamitin ng maayos. Okay, so for our activity number 2, ayan, activity number 2 natin, nilalagay ulit natin siya sa Clipper. Ayan, nasa essay naman siya. So, number 1, if you are applying for a job, what responsibility of entrepreneurs you will check and why? And as an employer, what responsibility of employees you will check and why? And as a boss, how can you encourage your employees to do their responsibilities? How do you achieve positive results in telling your employees about accountability? Okay. So if you have questions, you can just send me email or private message in the Facebook. Okay, so that's all for our chapter 3, lesson 9, and lesson 10.
Okay guys, may question tayo regarding business ethics. So nakita na ba natin yung paper natin, yung essay? Pakita ko na lang muna siguro. Para just to make sure na nakita nyo yung mas papaliwanag ko yun. Kita ba yung screen ko? Kita ba?
Opo, kita po.
Okay, so yon. Ito yung activity natin. Q1, written work and performance task. So, dito na yung lahat. Ito lang yung activity na isasend ko for business ethics. Ayan. So, yun, may mga 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions. Ayan. So, itong mga may asterisk, ito yung parang topic nyo, yung nature of business. Ayan, so, magbibigay kayo at least 3 characteristic of money. And then explain nyo lang each 3 types of money and explain each reasons why business are established. So yun, explain nyo lang kung bakit, ano yung mga reasons kung bakit nagtatayo ng business yung mga tao. Is it for the profit? Is it just to kill time? Ganon. And then core principles, yeah, give at least 3 principles of businesses or business. And how can you apply this in your studies? So for example, yung integrity, ayan, isa sa mga principle no, in business. And then next, common practice in businesses, especially pag mga Filipino. For example, yan, magbigay lang daw ng 3 common practices in business. For example, isa sa mga common practices sa business is kapag, lalo na sa mga Pinoy, kapag may birthday or may napopromote, parang required silang maghanda. So yun, ano yung mga tingin yung mga common practices? You can search din sa Google or you can just review back yung mga lessons natin. Foundations of principles of business ethics. And what is business ethics? So, paliwanag nyo lang. So, at siguro mas better kung at least 3 sentences. Pwede na. Give at least 3 Filipino value system that you apply in your family and in school. Siguro yung pagpo at opo. Pag-address ng boss and ma'am. Yan yung madalas na na ginagawa ng mga Pilipino sa mga sa work. Para itong mga Filipino value system, marami pang iba, marami pa yan. You can search din. And yung last is choose one classical philosopher. And siguro ito yung sa mga sila Socrates. And then, at least, magbigay lang kayo ng at least 3 teachings nila. Okay? So yun, 100 naman yun lahat. Okay, so yun, sisipagan na lang natin, no? So if wala nang question, pwede na tayong mag-dismiss. So, thank you everyone. Bye.